Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Michael.
Nice to see you, mate. Thank you for being with me today. How are you doing during this very strange time?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. Um,
Uh, you got cabin fever yet? Are you feeling kind of like have you left the house
I
much?
left the house much, yeah. Obviously not more than once a day. But you keep yourself busy. You've got like the whole world. Just to be sort of in your room and just discovering, exploring whatever the hell you want to explore.
Okay, the first thing I'd say about Andrea is probably one of the most like considered thought people that I know. Me and Andrea have many chats about philosophy and filmmaking and art and what it is to exist and the human condition, and I live for these chats. I've known Andrea for probably, what has it been now, man? Three years?
Yeah, yeah.
Been about three
Going to
years.
four now.
Going into four. By me, 4 years. You've had to listen to me talking rubbish
Yeah,
to you,
well,
mate.
likewise. Me too.
Andrea is a assistant director or first AD, among many other things. I am currently working on Andrea's first. Well, I suppose it's your first directorial, isn't it? And a film you wrote.
Yeah, second. Second,
Second.
with
Sorry.
a couple of other little shorts before that. The first one was Tiny Kernel of Dark Joy.
Which you still haven't shown me.
Oh, it's yeah, it's been out and released, I think, for some time now. Really, I've not shown
Okay.
you. I think
Well.
I have. I think I sent you the link. I'll send it to you again. Don't
Okay.
worry.
No, I feel bad now. I have to
I'll send
troll
it to you
through
again.
my emails, but can we link it
Yeah,
below on the channel for
absolutely,
people to watch? Is that possible?
absolutely. Pleasure,
Okay. Well, we'll link Tiny Kernel.
pleasure.
Um, I'm currently working on it. It's the working title of Hummingbird, because I believe you're looking to change it or looking to kind of work a way around it. It's been an interesting project, hasn't it, dude? Because I think this started probably, if I remember correctly, you had a spare ticket to Ennio Morricone,
Yeah,
and you said, right, you can have this ticket. It's first row, first seat, right next to the maestro. But on the condition that I have to score one of your films, right? Was that
yeah,
pretty much how the
yeah.
exchange went
Second
down?
row of Ennio Morricone, right in the middle. Yeah,
It was incredible, wasn't
yeah. It
it?
was good. It was good.
I would say that,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely one up there on Ennio Morricone in my world of probably one of my favourite composers. And it was amazing. I mean, I've seen him a few times, but those
Mm.
seats you managed to get were incredible. So yeah, I suppose that really Hummingbird's been my sort of what's the word? I owed Andrea a score. Yeah, we're currently working through that. We just had a little bit quick discussion today, kind of around the approach to the music, and I'm going to send him some stuff towards the end of the day and kind of have a quick prayer, that he's not going to completely hate it. The composer's fear, right there. Always composer's fear,
It's
mate.
not. It shouldn't
But
be a fear. It should be. It should be a nice, confident feeling of your own will. Like if you need to change something, instead of just feeling bad about it, you'll power through it. You'll be like yes
Oh well,
or no.
there's always fear, mate. It's like that naked feeling, like you. I always feel like that. That is true. It's like I don't know whether you ever feel like that when you sort of sit down and show someone one of your films. You sort of feel a bit like, this is part of my soul. This is like I'm giving away too much about myself. I need to run away and hide.
Yeah, yeah. If you generally put your heart and soul into it, yeah, maybe. You definitely put sort of personality and yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It could be
Absolutely.
anything really, but yeah.
I've seen it loads of people paintings, so they don't want to show you a painting or anything like that. It's quite amusing. And the thing is, as well, is I suppose I'm being my own devil here, really, in saying this, but a lot of the time when people are like that and they're kind of scared to show you something, you look at it and it's actually incredible.
Yeah, it's an
You
embarrassment.
know,
It's they sometimes they feel embarrassed because of their own self, their own sort of language that they could put onto you know a canvas. It's
exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So now it's gonna be your favourite question, Andrea. Now, so can you give the guys at the Aurora camp a little bit of a introduction into the world of Mr. Andrea Ratti? When did you start making films? What's your history? When did you look at a film and think, wow, this is what I want to do?
I guess in my early teenagers, I just watched films and I just saw that they were just so I don't know true to your own consciousness, and a lot of art, reflects that pretty well. But there was something about film and the music that was in the films, like Sergio Leone's films. Yeah, that's when it sort of, I think, struck me, when I really fell in sort of deep admiration for just films in general. The making of the films was just making films with my friends. And then obviously constructing it and making it, and then completing it, and then watching it. There's something really nice. There's a nice feeling of the creation that goes in that. So yeah, that's just it really, and I've just been doing sort of short films ever since. And then obviously when I went to UAL, London Arts of London, which Stanley Kubrick's wife went to the same one, so we had a Stanley Kubrick archive within there. So I spent, I think, hours and hours, went into days and days. I just lost myself into that really, and obviously studying film. You sort of learn the different sort of departments which make sort of a general production.
I think what I like from what you've said there as well is, it's always interesting hearing people talk about their history. So that you appreciated the actual, from a young age, you sort of, because you mentioned the music as well, and you mentioned kind of, so it's almost like the complete art of the film was something that you really kind of fell in love with.
Yeah, it was the very innate fundamentals of just the edit, and with the edit comes this sort of magic, as you want to call it. But it's it's the juxtaposition of just the images of what we've heard being talked about so many times now with filmmakers, about how images can be constructed. And then I went to obviously the in-depth ideas of what that really, really is, by just reading Deleuze, Bazin, all these great writers of film. And it was just something that I, obviously at that age, I didn't quite completely understand or knew how it completely worked. So that's what made me sort of want to do it. And with music, it was the exact same thing. It was like, I don't know who said this, but like, music understands us, but we don't understand music, to its most, to its purest feeling in a way. So yeah, that was sort of that relationship I had with it. And obviously, I think you mentioned earlier, because I'm so interested in human behavior and life and all that, fun stuff. I get really bored sometimes just learning about all of that, and just in some ways talking about it as well. Yeah, because it's more or less the same thing. It's like, if you care, it's just shut up and make a movie.
Yeah,
I think
it's just that introspective.
Yeah,
it's just that introspective.
Yeah, it's that introspective, because we all just want to sort of learn other people, different parts of the world. And yeah, I get it. It's just my advice: just shut up and just do it. Just shut up and do it.
Go and make a damn
absolutely.
film.
And so when I went to Arts of London, like, I just, when it came to the role of AD, it was just very much that. It wasn't about trying to contemplate whether you should do one thing. No, it's my motto is like, you shoot the plan, you plan the shoot the plan, and it's just that simple.
That's what you do. Well, I think we've me and you have worked together in sort of day jobs as well, which we won't talk about too much at the factory. That's a private in-joke there between me and you. But I think working with Andrea, I know you're very kind of conscientious, and you're very driven to get, you'll come in and you'll have a plan and you'll execute that plan. So I think for anyone looking for an AD, Andrea's your guy. I think is I think you need to have that conscientious kind of, almost like this is the plan, this is what we're doing. So I suppose, while you've got that kind of one side of your brain, which you say is very kind of contemplatory and very kind of researching and thinking, I think you do have the capability to then put that into a plan and follow it, like, almost like, this is the plan, we're sticking to it. So I think you have, that I think is important. I think and I struggle with that as well, man. There's a lot of kind of like, this is what we want to do, this is how we could do it, or how could we do it, how could I do it, or let's get a pen and paper out, or let's look at this. Whereas actually, for me as a composer, if I just opened the session and started playing some piano notes, I probably would get there quicker. I mean, you mentioned to me a long time ago that you went to like a talk when you were at school. Was it Elliot Grove?
Yeah.
Who inspired you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So was during that same time when I was sort of getting really interested and in love with sort of the craft and watching movies. Obviously, 2001: A Space Odyssey remains definitely one experience I remember very well. Just blowing sort of the idea of what traditional narrative was, and obviously my mum really saw that, and she found sort of a course and a class of rain dance, which was in in King's College in Waterloo. So we went there, and obviously Elliot Grove was there, which is the founder, and it was just a introductory of filmmakers or just movies. So obviously, yeah, that was pretty interesting because it sort of opened up the world of the industry, and the industry sounded like an absolute bitch, and that's what I liked. It was just that difficulty of just knowing that there's an industry that's difficult, and that difficulty leads to such beautiful imagery like 2001: A Space Odyssey, to Hitchcock films, John Ford films, and that obviously interested me very much. And I remember they gave you like a booklet, and on the booklet there was like a whole bunch of pictures of films on the left, which were all funded by Raindance, or not funded, but sort of discovered by Raindance, being put forward, like Memento, some Shane Meadows films, and Oldboy. And yeah, I sort of knew more than 50 of them. So if I knew more than 50
Amazing.
of them, then I thought, no one here in this class would know more than 50 of them. And same thing went to sort of in uni as well. Like the teacher would be like, the tutor would say, how many Hitchcock films has people seen? You've seen more than one. Everyone put their hands up. You've seen more than 5. You've seen more than 10, 20, 30. And I was the only one with my hands still up. It's that kind of thing of just, being really in love with just watching movies. It's good enough.
I think that's another thing I'd say with Andrea. If you I go on my letterboxd and I go on his letterboxd and I just feel ashamed. It's like I kind of I love all that old stuff as well. I think 2001 is. There's just something about that film, there's something about the atmospherics of it. And I mean, when we went to the museum, me and Andrea went to the Stanley Kubrick experience. That was probably mid last year, was it?
It was,
Around about that time?
It was around that time,
And we just got lost in there. I mean, it's just incredible when you kind of get into that world of what he went through. I mean, he was. I don't think he was necessarily very nice to particularly very many people in the industry, but the products that the guy made speak volumes, and that's really what it's all about.
He was sincere enough. Like at the end of the day, like so many other filmmakers, which were much more difficult to work with. I mean, even today, like there is countless of directors that are just absolutely difficult to work with. But it's a matter of going back to sort of the AD. Why they're just so relevant and important is because they understand that when you plan the shoot, you're not just planning every little detail, you're planning also the contingency plans, you're the unexpected plans, the unexpected ways that you could go about sort of dealing with problems, because that's what sort of that's when it gets creative. The world of the AD is it's when you can be creative. Absolutely.
But I think as well, it does. I mean, one thing that always astounded me when I first got into kind of films and got into kind of, I suppose, spotting, a bit like you, I suppose. I mean, I always loved films, but I think when I really started paying attention to it as like an industry and as almost developing a love for that art, you'd see the credits roll at the end of the film. And I always sit there, like it really annoys me in the cinema where people kind of like someone's put this great score, like for the end of the film, and it's amazing and it's beautiful, and then everyone's getting up and rustling and talking. I feel like just absolute Philistines, but that's me. The amount of people who are involved in the film to me is just absolutely incredible, and I think speaking about Aurora, that as well feeds me in terms of trying to create this collective. I think that people together with a common kind of goal is just incredible. People who like, generally speaking, people who are into art in really in any form, you know, we can kind of we can put all those people into one room and they can kind of get on. They've got into each individual needs and they've got individual kind of ways of thinking, perhaps, or ways of working. But generally speaking, they're all creative people tend to work well together. And I think maybe that's something you can, your experience as an AD, you know, surely that is basically what in a way what you are doing is you're making sure that the film is executed correctly, but surely there's an element of it where you've got to kind of know everyone a bit, you've got to kind of try and understand their unique issues perhaps to get it facilitated in the way that it needs to be done.
Yeah, the most difficult bit is obviously the creative clash of, I've got one idea and you've got another and they're not working. It's when it gets higher in the industry, it's less seen and less, it's more behind the scenes. You don't really hear about it. Sometimes you might hear about an actor dropping out because he just clashed with creative differences with the director, or the director with the producer, or with anyone. Like as an AD, obviously I've worked with many different directors and DPs that I had problems, together, our departments, sometimes makeup. You don't really see it coming, obviously, but it does fall down a lot to the role of the production itself. People, if you're higher up, if you're a producer putting these people together, it's on you as a director, sort of challenging your own sort of emotions. It's on you because it's an emotional investment, and that's on you. But it's also part of my job to be able to sort of secure and make sure that everyone's sort of working comfortably. There's a synergy between everyone sort of knows and works on the same page. It's all a collective work, like you said, and I don't have any sort of analogies to sort of describe it, but it very much is like a web.
No, I think it. I mean, I can't remember where I first heard this, but someone kind of said that, that the kind of being a producer in some ways, or being in that sort of role, it's balancing the ego faders, and I liked that analogy in terms of like, let's focus on creating a great product. It's like it's the product that matters, and of course, like you mentioned very well that it's an emotional investment. Of course it is, and a lot of the time I find, I mean, unfortunately, I've seen projects fall apart quite a lot in terms of film, where you'll be 6 months in, the team just slowly starts to kind of break down and fall apart. And I think on projects that perhaps where they're trying to crowdfund it, or perhaps that they start to lose funding, or people are on kind of gross points, that's when I've tended to see that happen more. And it's a real shame because you kind of you start to see the initial cuts, and you might have like half an hour of footage, and it's like it's starting to get there, it's starting to look good, and then all of a sudden the producer wants to go and and the director's like, I want to reshoot this part, and then the people don't want to travel back down, and it just falls, it just falls down. And I suppose I've seen that 3 times now in projects I've been involved in.
It happens all the time. Like what can you do? Like you just, depending on your role, you just do whatever you do. Like there's so many projects that never got even lifted on the ground. Like so many projects that just, even within this crisis that we have now, are lost in pre-production now, or that had a shoot that was going on, had it cancelled, and now are left with some dailies that they really don't know what to do with. I don't want to bring the silver lining in, but it really, for me, I think it helps in pre-production. So if you're 3 months or 6 months later, you were in pre-production, you've got a good plan ahead of you. You've got a very sort of clear idea. Maybe you're lost. Maybe you've narrowed yourself a bit too much with your ideas, but at the same time, you've got other departments and other people in place to make sure that when this crisis is over, you can just go about and start shooting, as soon as possible. Trying to find a good shoot date when everything comes back. It's really difficult because you can't really predict when we can come back. You just have to keep researching, and hopefully by the end of May figure out some good time slots. But that's about it. And another thing as well, like when we do come back to filming, it's just a matter of health and safety. It's just another sort of pressure that ADs will have to go through. Whatever, like you're just gonna. Yeah, it is what it is. Like you're just gonna have to do it. Who cares?
Absolutely, and I suppose like from my point of view, trying to just get the music to you for Hummingbird is, hopefully that'll give you a little bit of a something's on the move, something's changing, and then you can push forward from there. So I think there are some of us who are still able to kind of work, in terms of post.
Yeah.
But obviously, in terms of you actually going out there and producing, you can't scout, you can go online, but you can't really do much. I mean, what's your thoughts in terms of the festivals? Do you think that they're going to go ahead but be streamed, or do you think that they're going to kind of just completely? I mean, surely Cannes is not that far away. Do you reckon they're just going to cancel, or do you think they'll try and innovate?
I think all of them will try and do as much as they can, and some of them will support each other. Others will try and look for new ways to sort of get that streaming across to people, and we'll just have to wait and see what they do. I don't know. I really don't know.
Well,
more or less of them will be sort of postponed and delayed for probably next year, but it's not a huge thing for people to sort of worry about now at all.
No, I hear you, but I think it is one of those things, because I think me and you had conversations, didn't we, about kind of Rain Dance, Sundance, where I've never been, and I really wanted to go, and I really want to go, but I think I think there's almost a missed opportunity if they didn't do something. Like, to me, if I could pay, I don't know, I mean, how long does Cannes go on for? 4 days? 3 days?
Oh, I think a week or two, I think.
So say you could pay for like a pass to actually watch the festival at home through something, I would pay. Because it gives me that. I think they've got a unique opportunity to kind of reach out to people who perhaps would otherwise not have gone, but who are at home. If I see a film festival that's kind of going to move to a streaming or something like that, and they're asking for a contribution, or they're asking for like 50 quid or 100 quid, whatever, I would consider doing it, I think.
Yeah.
So let's just hope and wait and see what they're going to do. But yeah, man. Well, look, I'm holding this up to my camera. You won't be able to see it at the moment, Andrea, but I currently have the Hummingbird script in front of me. I currently have a whole list of notes that we made in front of me. My desk is like, it's looking like Andrea's desk, in terms of it's full of Andrea's paperwork. So I think really just I wanted, thanks so much for coming on, man, having a natter with us for sort of 25 minutes or so. Is there anywhere we can find you? Have you got like a social media demon of choice, or a website I can link or something?
AndreaRatti.co.uk, IMBD, talent on Talentbase, on Mandy.com, LinkedIn.
He's a man about town, Andrea. He's on all of them.
Yeah, a few. Just I'm not on Twitter, and I'm not on Tumblr or any of that crap. I'm just just a website.
Love it. Well, just a website. Well, look, I'll tell you, I'm going to link down the link to Tiny Kernel. We'll put the link to all your websites and everything, Andrea.
Cool.
Obviously, we've mentioned Hummingbird. The title is probably going to change, guys, so it's a working title. And I suppose really it's probably time for me to let Andrea get back to his research, and I probably should get back to doing his score.
Cool stuff, man.
Thanks very much for coming on, man. Any final words before I hit the stop record button?
No.
No. In Andrea fashion, no.